Good afternoon. I hope you're enjoying your Easter weekend. My name is Burrows and this is NTV at 1. Well, with the COVID-19 pandemic sweeping across the globe, that is, ventilators and oxygen have been particularly important. Now, Sharon Baranga is at the Kenyatta University, where the Principal Secretary for University Education is launching ventilators developed by KU. Sharon, have you seen the ventilators? What do they look like? Will they be effective in helping those infected with the COVID-19 virus to recuperate?
Yes, Olive, I've seen the prototype of the ventilator, but first, before we get into the ventilators, I'd like to say that ever since the learning institutions were closed, that was the third week of March, Kenyans Online have been taunting university students, saying why they were staying at home together with learners from primary and secondary schools, while their counterparts in other parts of the world were working in research of possibly coming up with a vaccine for coronavirus. But today, 15 students from Kenyatta University, from the School of Engineering, Medicine and Pharmacy, together with their dean, worked on a prototype of a ventilator for only 7 days. And they came up with a ventilator which has been approved. Some of the medical experts have looked at it and say that this can be used. And according to them, they say they use close to $500,000 to develop one ventilator. And they're looking into getting approved of and generating more of these ventilators, which are scarce currently right now in the world. And right now, I'm joined by Christine, who's one of the students who worked on coming up with a ventilator. Christine, karibu sana.
Thank you very
Kindly
much.
tell us the hours you put into developing this ventilator and how it works.
Okay, my name is Christine, a fourth year biomedical engineering student here at Kenyatta University, and I'm part of the team that has innovated the ventilator. So basically, we've done this project for 7 days. And we've worked for approximately 18 hours in a day. Yeah.
So you put 18 hours into this project. We have Kenyans who are taunting you online that you're staying at home. What can you tell them?
I can tell them that they should believe in us, the university students. Some of us are outside here trying to fight and work for our country and to give service to humanity. As engineers, we are normally taught that we should gain the engineering principles so that we can save humanity. And I, as a biomedical engineering student, am using these principles to make innovations in the medical sector, as we have done here today.
Okay, you came with the prototype. You took 1 week to come up with the prototype. So if you get approved, how many of the ventilators can you produce in what span of time?
Okay, if we came up with one in 7 days, and it's a prototype, which is the hardest phase in a project, then I believe we can make more in a day. And maybe that can be answered by our lecturers who will organize that and organize the production and materials. Yeah, thank you.
One of your lecturers said you can come up with 50 ventilators in a week.
Yes. Yes, I believe we can come up with 50, just as he said. Because if at all it will go to mass production and we'll get the necessary and appropriate equipment, we can handle it. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That was Christine, a student from Kenyatta University, one of the team members who worked in developing the prototype of a ventilator that soon could be approved and they could be given that go-ahead to continue producing them in mass. Olive?
Thank you, Sharon. And now we cross over to join Seth Olale. Police have heightened restrictions along major highways during this Easter season in line with the cessation of movement order issued by President Uhuru Kenyatta this week. NTV's Seth Olale has been going around checking on the latest status of the roadblocks and now joins us from the Thika Nyeri Superhighway. Seth, how does the highway look?
Well, of course, the highway looks busy behind me, but this is just this particular point. It took us actually 30 minutes to arrive here, but it is the same script. Only vehicles that are supposed to be providing essential services are allowed beyond this particular point. This particular roadblock has been placed at around Chania Bridge, and that is when you are either accessing Thika town or even now proceeding to the capital city, that is Nairobi. This particular roadblock has been here since Monday, 7 p.m. when the president gave that cessation of movement executive order, and those who are not supposed to or don't have that particular documentation that shows that they are providing essential services are told to make a U-turn, and that is what you are seeing right here, right now, is that only those who are providing essential services, for example, this particular truck carrying gas cylinders, are being allowed to go. But even as they're being allowed to pass, they also have to be checked. They also have to be screened, and they're using the thermoscan to do this particular exercise. And so it is a very vigorous exercise here at the Nairobi Thika Nyeri Superhighway, and it is being done by an multi-agency security team comprising of the regular police as well as GSU officers, and also I've managed to see the area chief around this particular place. So it is the same script, only those with essential or rather emergency need that are being allowed to pass at this particular point. Of course, they have to show accreditation, or if you like, documentation that backs up or rather substantiate those claims that they really need to pass through this particular junction. But also remember that this is not just happening here, Olive. It is happening at major entry points around the metropolitan area. Yesterday I was at Lucena. It was the same exercise. Those who don't prove reasons enough for proceeding, of course, are being told to go back, and only those who are providing essential services are being allowed to go through. And it is also being done at Limuru. It is also being done at Kamulu area. And of course, this is the kind of spot check that we will be doing in the coming days, just to make sure that that particular order that was actually announced by the head of state, it is being enforced to the latter. Olive.
Thank you, Seth Olali, speaking to us there from the Thika Highway. He says only trucks ferrying cargo are being allowed to move as Kenyans are exhorted to stay home over this Easter season. Of course, Nairobi is under containment, Mombasa, Kwale, and that is in an effort to prevent the spread of COVID-19 from these hotspot areas to other areas of the country where our elderly are located. Turkana County has set aside over 440 million shillings for relief food operations to cushion the residents against the vulnerabilities in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic. This as the county government of Uasin Gishu launched a relief food distribution program for the needy. Gabriel Kudaka has those details.
COVID-19 cases in Mombasa still ranks the county as one of the hotspots for the deadly virus after Nairobi, as Kilifi and Kwale counties also get affected. The Ministry of Health confirmed 2 more cases from Mombasa on Friday, putting the country's toll at 189. Now, residents from the 3 coastal counties are under containment, and no one is allowed to enter or exit their respective counties for the next 21 days. The county government of Mombasa has identified vulnerable households that will benefit from free food in case the government imposes a total lockdown to arrest the spread of the virus. Assorted food items are being collected from donors as identification process of persons in need of the food continues.
Mostly we will start with those ones who are living in the informal settlement, and our informal settlement are well known. So we'll start with them, but it does not mean that we'll only cover the people in the informal settlement.
One bag contains 10 kilos of guano, it has 5 kilos of sugar, it has 3 liters of oil, it has 1 kilo of salt, it has 2 kilos of uji, and 2 kilos of beans.
Elsewhere, Mombasa Diocese Archbishop Martin Kivuva appealed to Kenyans to heed to COVID-19 protocols and support the government's effort in fighting the virus. Kivuva also urged government to secure enough PPEs for the health workers.
We still insist serikali isiwaache bila protective gear kuanzia wauguzi wa chini mpaka wa juu, kwamba wasija wakaadhirika huku wanahudumia watu kwa kujitolea wengi wao.
At the same time, over 500 families received food donations from a church in Mikindani as the local administration struggled to enforce social distancing.
We are giving them 10 kgs of maize, 6 kgs of beans, 5 kgs of rice, 2 kg of wheat flour, and 1 liter of cooking oil.
Wanapoingia na kuweka vile kuosha mikono pale, wanaingia wanapo mask, wanaingia wanaosha kwa taratibu kuingia as a distance.
More than 300 internally displaced persons in Tana Delta were evicted from their makeshift structures for flouting government directives on COVID-19. The local administration say the residents have been holding gatherings oblivious of the dangers they are exposing themselves to.
Tunapata changamoto nyingi sana. Wananchi wetu wanachukulia hili janga si la ukweli, kwani halijatufikia kama vile ambavyo tunalisikia kule sehemu za bara.
Most of the residents have been forced to celebrate their Easter in their homes as authorities increase surveillance to monitor movement of people. Kevin Mutai, NTV, Mombasa.
I apologize. That was actually a report by Kevin Mutai from the coast, where cases of coronavirus are still going up, and that is despite government's enforcement of the cessation of movement. Mombasa has the highest number of positive cases, followed by Kilifi and Kwale. In what is seen as a total disregard for COVID-19 guidelines, a section of residents from the region, especially in Tana River County, were forcefully evicted from a makeshift camp for flouting social distance regulations. That was that report by Kevin Mutai. Now back to Turkana County, where the county government has set aside over 440 million shillings, and we'll come to that shortly. And in Migori, after Kisii and Nyamira counties reported their first COVID-19 positive cases, Migori County has swung into defense mode and intensified border patrols and ensured that anyone crossing into the county has been thoroughly screened. Health officers and police have been deployed along the boundaries to ensure that all government measures put in place to flatten the curve are adhered to. Bernardo Drang has more.
Following the recent report that put Kisii and Nyamira in the list of counties that have reported cases of COVID-19 positive, Migori County has launched an operation to safeguard its boundaries, screening each and every person entering the county. They mounted a roadblock on the Kisii, Migori and Rongo Homa Bay highway as each and every passenger was forced to alight from the vehicle for screening. Matatu operators here were also ordered to sanitize their clients after being screened.
Screening at the border points. This one, Rongo, being a border point for Kisii and Homa Bay, we are doing that. We are also doing that from Tanzania border into Migori. And so far, since we started up to last week on Friday, we had screened over 20,000 people. We've not added data for this week. We are going to heighten this, and the next step we are talking about is to now improve or enhance community contact tracing. We realize that those who could have come into our community without passing through the necessary processes, we already designed a structured way through our public health offices so that we are able to identify these people within the community.
Migori County Commissioner Joseph Rotich, who led the operation, said that initially they used to target people from epicenters like Nairobi, Kilifi and Mombasa, but as the virus continues to spread, serious surveillance have been intensified along Migori borders.
Initially we were focusing on travelers from Nairobi, but now Kisii and other counties in the country have been having reported cases. So we are not selecting the vehicles, but all vehicles are being screened. So we have a team here which is here from morning up to evening until curfew time to make sure that all people coming into the county are screened.
Rotich also urged boda operators that to ensure that they observe the directive given by the Minister of Health that they be in mask and gloves throughout, including their customers.
Boda carry people, and boda stages are where people converge when they want to take their transportation home. So it is very, very important that even them wash their hands, and also those passengers or potential passengers that they are waiting to carry home also wash their hands. So they are a central point when it comes to transportation in this sub-county.
Kibeba abiria moja lazima ataenda na hiyo. Na abiria penye tuna distance tuna cover hela ndogo ni kati ya shilingi 30 na 50. Na hivyo basi ukichukua moja ukinunua naye hiyo hela yako imeenda, fuel pia hakuna, na barabara pia unaona pia iko na nini portals nyingi.
Bernard Ojuang, NTV.
Now to Kajiado County, and all livestock markets in Kajiado County have been reopened after 2 weeks of closure to stop any possible spread of COVID-19. The decision was arrived at after herders and meat traders complained of losses they were recording. Cattle sale yards in Ibisil, Emali, Kimana, Shompole and Kiserian were closed last month to stop human contact in the face of the coronavirus. The closure of the markets saw meat prices shoot up in most Kajiado satellite towns and a drop of livestock prices, especially in central Ibisil livestock market that attracts Tanzanian traders. The county's governor, Joseph Olelenku, said the livestock market will resume every Friday to boost beef supply and stabilize prices. However, traders have been told to ensure that they adhere to government directives to curb the spread of COVID-19, failure to which the markets will be closed indefinitely.
Sisi tumeteseka kwa ajili ile soko imefunga ghafla bila kueleza wananchi.
Soko hizi zimehakikishwa na kaunti kwamba maagizo ya kuosha mkono, watu kusimama mita moja mbali ya nyingine na kuuza mifugo katika mazingira ambayo haienezi hiyo virusi, kaunti itadhibitisha kwamba zimefuatiliwa hizo maagizo ili vyakula vyenu iwafikie wa Kenya ikiwa salama na afya yenu pia ikuwe salama.
And in Laikipia County, the government has relocated some traders from its biggest open-air Nyahururu market to Nyahururu Stadium in an effort to enable the social distance requirement to contain the spread of COVID-19. The move seeks to reduce human traffic, especially during market days on Tuesday and Fridays. But some of the traders are crying foul, claiming that some traders have been allowed to continue doing small-scale business at Nyahururu market at their expense. At the same time, second-hand cloth traders at the market have protested the move by the government to ban the sale of second-hand clothes, famously known as mitumba, accusing the government of rendering them jobless at the hour of need during the coronavirus pandemic.
Wale tulikuwa tumeambiwa tukuje wote, tumekuja wengine wamekatalia huko na waulizwi. Moko tumepata, hatuna maji ya kuosha mpaka customer mikono, hatujui shows ziko wapi, tumekaa tu hivyo na kumejaa.
Na hapa inasemekana ati retail peke yake ndio iko hapa. Kwa hivyo huko kwenye wanasema ni wholesale, wanauza retail na wholesale. Kwa hivyo sisi wenye wanauza vitu za chini chini, kama mimi mama wa mboga, mimi saizi sijapata hata shilingi.
Kwa sababu sisi tunauliza aje, mtumba tu peke yake ndio iko na corona. Hakuna kitu kingine ambao kinasababisha corona. Maji tumeweka vizuri, tunaoga mikono, maski tunavaa kama vile unaona nimevaa. Na sasa tunaambiwa ya kwamba tuende manyumbani. Tunaenda nyumbani tukakule nini? Sisi tuko na njaa.
Na kama mimi sasa niko na stock, nilikuwa nimenunua mizigo na nilikuwa nimenunua mizigo mingi. Sasa najiuliza aje, waliniambia nitoke niende wapi? Tena waliniambia nitoke niende. Watoto wangu watakula nini jioni? Kama ni Governor Morevi anasema jana eti ameangalia watu ambao wako na njaa. Hata sisi pia watu wa Miarero tuko na shida.
The fishing industry in Malindi County has been hit hard by the coronavirus pandemic. Traders who are calling for both local and national government intervention say they've lost up to 70% of their revenues due to the closure of the Chinese export market following the outbreak of COVID-19.
Fishing boats in Malindi have docked due to massive losses in revenue attributed to the coronavirus pandemic. The commercial fishing industry has hit rough seas, with a staggering 80% of the catch remaining unsold due to the closure of the Chinese export market.
Kwa sasa hakuna wachuruzi wa kununua samaki. Mchuruzi ni mmoja huyo Mchina. Mchina bei ni ile anatoka yeye. Anatupatia bei ile anayotaka yeye. Akisema ni samaki ni shilingi 50, ujue ni hiyo 50 bob. Akisema ni shilingi 30 ni hiyo 30 bob.
The closure of tourist hotels, which were ready markets for local traders in the coast region, has made matters worse.
Bidhaa za kuuzwa zinafungika na zimeporomoka bei takriban 70% poromoka kwake. na pamoja na kuporomoka bei, hakuna pahali kwa ambapo kwamba tutazipeleka bidhaa hizo za uvuvi.
Fishermen who used to operate at night have also been dealt a blow due to the curfew and cessation of movement in the coastal counties of Kwale, Mombasa and Kilifi.
Tunatafuta kulingana kwamba sasa chakula na riziki, kwamba sasa tutafutia hata watoto. Kulingana kwamba sasa manyumba ambayo tunakaa yenyewe manyumba kufanya kupangisha.
Samaki naanza kuuza saa 1. Haya. Lakini ikifika hiyo saa 1 naambiwa niondoke tayari. Saa hii samaki nikifika nyumbani naambiwa mama ondoka. Haya, sina raha. Sijui na watoto karibu 5, sijui niwapeleke wapi.
All the fish markets in Malindi have been closed despite appeals by traders to remain operational while observing safety measures. The crisis now threatens the livelihoods of the 595 registered fishermen and boat operators in the area who have since been rendered jobless and now appealing help from both the county and national governments in order to survive. Seth Olale, NTV.
We'll be back with more on NTV at 1 after this break.
Rashes again? Kiss Kids diapers. Kiss Kids, no rashes. Kiss Kids, no rashes. Bye-bye rashes. Buy diapers. Choose Kiss Kids.
Heaviness and a burning inside. It could be heartburn.
Indigestion and heartburn? Eno gets to work in 6 seconds and works on the 6 symptoms of heartburn so you can keep living life non-stop. Eno, fight heartburn and indigestion fast.
Economies are faltering. The skies are empty. Borders are closed. The streets are deserted. Schools have been halted. And what was referred to as work has everyone staying at home and figuring out how to make it work. We are all at risk, and the health of your neighbor is not only dependent on you, but your life or death could also be in their hands. On Wednesday, 15th April 2020, the Nation Media Group will hold a live virtual Nation Leadership Forum on NTV from 7 p.m. It shall take a peek into how COVID-19 has changed the world, the family, the individual, and life as we all have known it.
This pandemic will test us, as it is testing all countries in every corner of the globe, but I don't believe that it will defeat us. If we pull together and everybody does their part, we shall overcome.
Nation Leadership Forum. Engaging society, impacting the nation.
Welcome back. You're watching NTV at 1. Although all government attention and efforts have shifted to how to contain the spread of the dreaded COVID-19, the locust invasion is managing to get some attention as aerial spraying continues. Talking to the press in Garissa town, Colonel Julius Ngera from the Locust Control Center said that the coronavirus restrictions issued by government are not limiting the locust control measures. The team is currently in Tana River and Garissa counties, where swamps covering about 5 kilometers square with a population of between 7 and 10 million locusts have been spotted on irrigation farms along the River Tana.
We have the locust fighting team has been exempted from the curfew restriction because this particular menace is equally threatening like coronavirus, and we are trying our best to ensure that within 24 hours we are conducting our surveillance both in ground and aerial and ensure that the coronavirus is not restricting our operations in terms of locust control.
More than 3,000 newspaper vendors in Nairobi and Kisumu have received hand sanitizer from the Nation Media Group and the Standard Media Group. Speaking during the distribution of sanitizer to vendors, George Kihuria, the head of circulation and distribution at Nation Media Group, said they are supporting newspaper vendors with masks and hand sanitizers to enhance working in a safe environment during the period of COVID-19. The masks and sanitizers have been distributed to vendors across the country to use them at their selling point to make sure their readers are also safe.
We cannot afford to take things for granted, and therefore we will continuously invest in these measures, and we can assure our consumers that they feel free to pick a copy of our newspapers because these papers are safe and our entire supply chain is well taken care of in terms of safety.
Newspaper is not, and as the World Health Organization has indicated, is not a conduit for transmission of the COVID-19.
Tunahakikisha kwamba wakati tunauza magazeti tunakuanga tumevaa mask kwa sababu ya kuzuia maambukizi kutoka nje.
People living with disability and the elderly are among those most affected by the effects of COVID-19, as most of them are struggling to make a living. Well-wishers in Nyeri have now embarked on ensuring that the less fortunate have food on their table in these adverse times. The Wamatinga Foundation has reached out to a woman who is taking care of her 4 children living with disability after she ran out of money and food to sustain her family, as the odd jobs she's been depending on were affected by the stay-at-home directive by government. The family is the first to receive foodstuff donations and other essentials in an exercise to reach out to a wider population of the less fortunate in Nyeri County. Well-wishers have now called for able Kenyans to rise up and support those who cannot put food on their table in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic. People living with disability are among those affected by the economic effects of the pandemic, as they cannot find ways of fending for themselves.
Mimi niko na watoto 4 na dada yangu 5, na hakuna mmoja awezaye kufanya kazi hata. Mimi naenda nawapikia na napelekea chakula.
Huu ugonjwa ambao umekuja umekomea sana wale watu ambao hawana uwezo, wengine wa mama wa yatima, watu kama hao ambao wako na ulemavu tofauti na hawana mapato ama chakula cha kutosha.
West Pokot County government on Friday evening launched a fumigation exercise of business premises, walkways and streets in all major towns within the county in a bid to curb the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. Governor John Lonyangapuo, who launched the exercise in Makutano Township, Kapenguria, urged all Kenyans to continue observing all preventive measures to win the battle against this global pandemic.
The officers responsible for the fumigation exercise, led by West Pokot Governor John Lonyangapuo, wore these special garments to protect them while dealing with the harsh chemicals used in fumigation. The fumigation that started at Makutano Township, Kapenguria, saw business premises, walkways and streets fumigated in a bid to curb the spread of COVID-19. Governor John Lonyangapuo urged all Kenyans to continue observing all preventive measures to win the battle against this global pandemic.
West Pokot, kila entrance, main entry into the county, tumeweka mahali pa kunawa mikono, mahali pa sanitizers, na mahali pa kupima pia temperatures. Kuna madaktari pale.
He cautioned visitors against visiting the county at the moment.
Kwa kutoka nje ya county tulifunga hiyo biashara, watu wakae kwa kwao vile ilisemekana, sisi tukae kwa kwetu mpaka siku ile Mungu atasaidia na serikali kuu ya Kenya na ya county itapeana amri ya siku ya kutoka kuweza kufungua zaidi yetu ya watu.
West Pokot Deputy County Commissioner cautioned parents of living children to loiter in towns. Lonyangapuo raised concern over insufficient number of testing kits and personal protective equipment (PPEs), calling on the Ministry of Health, Council of Governors and KEMSA to pay closer attention to border counties. Nuru Abdul Aziz, NTV.
As humans retreat indoors at night to fight the spread of the coronavirus, Bangkok streets are handed over to increasingly brazen rats who are venturing out across the Thai capital in huge numbers. As wet markets begin closing for the night, dozens of rats sniff their way through the fresh garbage, a nightly dance overseen by a gaggle of unimpressed cats. The rodents have had to adapt to Thailand's confinement measures and the night curfew, with shops closed and some restaurants now only offering takeaway. The source of food is more scarce and scattered across Bangkok, but fresh food markets and boxes of discarded takeaway are providing a new harvest as humans hunker down. And that closes NTV at 1. I will see you at 9 p.m. inshallah.